Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 11th edition of the Digital Skills Talk. My name is Loredana Bucșeneanu. I'm a project manager at the European Digital SME Alliance, and I'm happy to moderate today's episode called From Policy to Practice, AI Literacy and the Future Workforce. For those of you that are new today, the Digital Skills Talk is a series of online expert interviews launched in 2024 by the Digital Skills and Jobs platform, covering key digital topics such as AI, cybersecurity, virtual worlds, or data, but always with the focus on digital skills. With the participation of digital skills experts, each session explores emerging trends, best practices, real-world applications to foster a discussion on how digital skills shape the future of work and society. So each episode is 30 minutes and it is live streamed on Microsoft Teams if you register beforehand and on the Digital Skills EU Facebook platform. So today we will deep dive into the topic of AI literacy, like I mentioned, and I would like to welcome our experts joining today. Giulia Carsaniga, Policy Officer at the EU AI Office of the European Commission, and Konstantinos Pouliakas, expert on skills and work at the European Center for the Development of Vocational Training, Cedefop. So by now it is clear that AI literacy is essential in today's evolving job market. As industries transform, understanding AI's applications and limitations ensures workers stay competitive while employers harness innovation. So to learn more about the upcoming initiatives at the EU level, I would like maybe to turn first to Giulia. So in January 2024, the Commission launched a package of measures to support European startups and SMEs in the development of trustworthy AI. As part of these measures, a Commission decision to establish the AI office was adopted. So can you tell us a bit more about what are the main initiatives of the AI office that are currently implemented?
Thank you, Loredana, and thank you very much to the team of Digital Skills and Jobs platform for the kind invitation. It's a pleasure to be here and also to discuss with my colleague Konstantinos. So maybe as a background for our audience, the AI office was indeed set up within the European Commission and more specifically within the Directorate General for Communications, Networks, Content and Technology, in brief DVC CNECT. It is led by Ms. Lucilla Sioli and serves as a center of expertise on AI and the basis of a single European AI governance, working, of course, in close cooperation with member states and with the stakeholders community. Per se, therefore, the office has quite a broad mission. We have a key role in the implementation of the AI Act and in particular in enforcing the rules for general purpose AI. But we are also promoting research and innovation in AI, helping the EU to position itself as a leader in international discussions on the topic. And in particular, the unit I work for, which is responsible for AI innovation and policy coordination, is very much involved in this second aspect of the mission, as we are coordinating some key elements of the already existing AI innovation ecosystem in Europe. For example, the European Digital Innovation Hubs, EDIs, which are one-stop shops across Europe, helping SMEs and also public sector organizations on their digital journey, also through AI. And the testing and experimentation facilities, TEFs, which are large-scale reference sites also across Europe organized around specific sectors, which support providers in testing and experimenting AI solutions through physical and also virtual facilities. In the framework of this innovation angle, we are also contributing to the recent commitment that you have heard for sure in speeches of our president and our executive vice president of the EU trying to become more of a European AI continent, so to compete also more globally, always in respect of the principle of having a trustworthy and human-centered AI. And this means, for instance, to commit on enhancing Europe's AI computing infrastructures via what was announced as AI factories and gigafactories, improving access to data, minimizing the legislative burden, especially for smaller companies, foster more integration of AI in key sectors of our economy and also in the public sector through what will be the Apply AI strategy, and also important maybe for the discussion of today, equipping people with the right skills to address the AI revolution. And in this context, we have been working, as said by Loredana, especially from the perspective of AI literacy and the AI Act, which has an Article 4 related to it. And which enter into application in February. But we have also taken some steps towards more reskilling, upskilling, so also towards more the topics that maybe my colleague Konstantinos will talk about. In fact, I would like to flag one action that will be co-funded by the Digital Europe program, whose working program was just published the other day, which is the AI Skills Academy. This will be a one-stop shop trying to empower students as well as current and future sectoral specialists in SMEs, startups, and in public sector with the right AI skills, so the skills for developing, deploying, and applying AI models and applications of AI in specific fields. So I will leave all the links to it also in the chat. And I will give back the floor now to you, Loredana.
Thank you, Giulia, for sharing this information. Indeed, it looks like there's going to be a lot of initiatives to support SMEs and startups, but also workers in these companies. But now, indeed, I would like to turn to Konstantinos to learn more about market developments. So by this point, many say that artificial intelligence is the next general purpose technology that will completely reshape the labor markets. So I know that your organization carried out in 2024 a first European survey focused on the use and impact of AI in jobs, and the results have been published recently. Can you tell us more about the study and the results?
Yes, certainly, and a very warm welcome from my side from Thessaloniki in Greece. I thank you very much to you and the Digital Skills and Jobs Coalition for the kind invitation to this talk. Allow me to just give a little bit of background before moving on to telling you a couple of insights that we have drawn from this new AI skills survey that Cedefop has carried out. Cedefop, over the past 2 decades at least, as the EU's agency on vocational education and training skills and qualifications, has been investing considerably in developing what we call Europe's skills intelligence capacity and infrastructure. And as part of all of these efforts that we have undertaken, we have tried to develop high quality and robust labor market information and skills intelligence tools, which could give us insights into the changing skill needs and changing skill demands in dynamic European labor markets. Examples are the European Skills Forecast that we had developed. Since 2014, Cedefop has been scanning millions, we're approaching 1 billion now, of online job vacancies, job advertisements, which we scan and we classify. And that type of tool has given us immense insights into emerging skills trends. And we have tried to use that tool also recently to get insights into how new digital skills are being asked for by employers in particular occupations, in particular sectors. More importantly, we've also been developing now 2 waves of what we call the European Skills and Jobs Survey, which has now given us data and information on the skill needs and mismatches in EU workplaces, and the important role of digitalization as a driver of skill mismatches in labor markets. Within that context of the European Skills and Jobs Survey in 2013, given the fact that we now saw this rapid advancement in generative AI and the fact that many workers were now in essence using, or at least were accustomed with the use of these tools, we decided to undertake a dedicated AI skill survey. So we developed the survey in 2013, and we went to the field in 2014, in spring of 2014. So with this survey, essentially what we did is we drew random samples of adult workers from 11 European countries, which was representative of different geographical clusters, but also different levels of digital exposures of EU member states. And in essence, with the survey, what we try to do is we try to get information on how many workers are essentially using AI tools and technologies as part of their everyday job tasks. And in particular, we also wanted to understand what is their level of AI literacy or AI skill gaps that they potentially have, and whether or not they're participating in vocational education and training to ameliorate such AI skill gaps. So some key findings from the survey. We found, using a particular methodology where we were trying to essentially inform respondents on what could be potentially AI tools and technologies, we found that 28% of EU adult workers in these 11 European member states admit that either themselves or a co-worker has been using an AI tool or technology in their workplace. So that is a very important finding, because we're approaching around 1 in 3 workers who are actually now using AI tools, digital applications, which are automatically carrying out some of their job tasks. Of course, we found important discrepancies between some European countries. We found a north-south divide, which of course pre-exists because we know that there is this big digital divide from the previous ICT revolution. Now, what we saw in our survey is that there is a higher incidence of AI use in some northern countries like Luxembourg, Belgium, France, Germany, whereas there is a lower use in countries such as Spain, Greece, Poland, Portugal. Of more concern is the fact that in these latter group of countries, there is also a smaller share of workers who said that they increased their use of AI technologies in the past year. So it's not only an issue of a different level, it's also an issue of different speeds with which workers in these countries seem to becoming accustomed with the use of different AI technologies. Of course, the survey focuses a lot on the issue that tends to dominate the debate, whether or not AI will take over people's jobs and destroy employment in EU labor markets. And reassuringly, we found that a relatively smaller percentage of workers are afraid that AI will completely result in them becoming unemployed. Only 15% of workers admitted that they are afraid that they will lose their jobs. But a considerably larger share, around 40%, admitted that they are now doing some new or different tasks because of their use of AI in their jobs. 30% also said that some of the tasks that they were previously doing are no longer applicable because AI is now doing it for them. So this basically highlights that the adoption of AI is one of task reallocation. People's jobs are changing at a relatively fast pace. So people need to train themselves. People need to upskill, reskill to be able to adapt to these changes, which brings me to the last part of what I would consider key findings of the survey. Despite the fact that 4 in 10 workers admitted that they need to develop their knowledge and skills in the use of AI, only 15% of our respondents said that in the previous year they actually participated in a specific training course to develop their AI skills. And in our survey, we have a unique module, a series of 11 questions where we try to assess the AI literacy level of workers. And we do so by essentially asking them questions to try to understand if people know and understand how do machines work, how do machines learn, when is it best to use machines as opposed to humans, and if people actually understand the ethical and social implications of using AI technologies. And the final main finding of our survey is that close to a half, even up to 60% of the respondents actually admitted that they do not know and do not understand these issues very well. So we're starting from a level of low AI literacy in the EU adult workforce, and this is why initiatives such as the repository that my colleague Giulia described and they're actually working now on as part of the AI office assumes great importance.
Thank you very much, Konstantinos. Indeed, very interesting findings of your survey. For those interested, you can find the link now in the chat, but later on they will be posted in the event web page. Okay, so that's very interesting. So maybe to link to what you were saying, Giulia, maybe would you like to develop more on this initiative that Konstantinos was mentioning, the living repositories of AI literacy practices?
Yes, absolutely, with pleasure. So the living repository for AI literacy practices is part of a broader effort that started even before the entry into application of Article 4 of the AI Act, which as said is an article that requires providers and deployers of AI systems to ensure a sufficient level of AI literacy to their staff and also to anyone using their AI systems on their behalf. And this effort of the AI office was in particular to support providers and deployers in understanding this article and taking steps towards its implementation and eventual compliance. I have to say here that while that replicating the practices in this repository does not automatically grant presumption of compliance with Article 4, also because, as I was referring to beforehand, enforcement of this article is in the hands of the member states, which are still announcing also the national authorities that will be enforcing, and this will happen up until August. However, the repository still tries to encourage learning and exchange among providers and deployers of AI systems on ongoing activities of AI literacy, because, as we often say, there is no one size fits all when it comes to this topic. And as pointed out also by Konstantinos, it's very important to raise awareness of the need to upskill, reskill workers directly impacted by the AI systems, as pointed out somehow by the Article 4, but also beyond. And therefore, the repository for the moment collects more than 20, almost 30 examples of trainings, of boot camps, cooperation between industry and universities, e-learning platforms, guidances, and other AI literacy initiatives which are ongoing, which are fully implemented or planned by large, medium, and small organizations working both in the public and in the private sector. I have to say that this repository wouldn't have been possible so far without our AI Pact community, and in particular our AI Pact pledgers, so organizations that have pledged to comply with AI Act and Article 4 earlier on. In fact, to collect these practices, we have initially open a small survey among these AI Pact pledgers, with whom we also had a first discussion last December. But to ensure that we have more practices and we have more representation also of initiatives, we have opened just yesterday a new survey, which is for all providers and deployers of AI systems out there that would like to share with us their experience and their practices. This is also part of the idea to for us to not only collect more examples, but also to listen more and more to our stakeholders. So raising awareness, this is very important as we have just heard from Konstantinos. AI is having quite an impact on our society and our economy, an impact that we hope will be also positive and not just seen in negative terms. But of course, we need to be prepared, and it's important. And education and training is an important part of these. So talking about raising awareness, talking about communication activities, I would like also to flag that in the context of the AI Pact, we also organize webinars, sometimes a bit longer than these talks, but hopefully still interesting. And one of these webinars will be happening today after these. And will be about the guidelines on prohibited AI practices and definition of AI systems in accordance with the AI Act. And if you're still interested also to learn more about AI literacy and the repository, we held a webinar in February, which is recorded and is available on the AI Pact website.
Thank you so much, Giulia. Indeed, for those of you who are interested in the survey that Giulia was mentioning, there is also a link here that you can check later. And maybe to go to the end of this discussion, I will come back to Konstantinos. And we have seen from the results that you shared earlier that AI is transforming at a fast pace the workplace tasks and skills that are required for those tasks. So according to the research that you carried, what is the role of vocational education and training in preparing a future-ready workforce?
As Giulia, thank you very much for the very interesting question. As Giulia mentioned, the role of education and training generally is paramount, has become paramount, but in particular vocational education and training, both at initial level, but increasingly so at continuing level, is assuming a more critical role in preparing the workforce to adapt to not only the future challenges that are likely to ensue in our economies and societies, but even today, there are tremendous marked challenges that our graduates need to be able to confront. Vocational education training, in particular, being that part of the educational system which is closer to the world of work, sometimes has to be more responsive, has to be faster in adapting to these changes that are happening. And we should take into account or always bear at the back of our minds that vocational education training is not the poor cousin of the educational system. Actually, 1 in 2 upper secondary students, in European member states participate in initial vocational education training courses. And Cedefop skills forecast, for instance, predicts that up to the next decade, up to 2035, close to 1 in 2, 45%, for instance, of jobs that are going to be in demand in European labor markets will demand people with medium-level qualifications, and to a great extent, these medium-level qualifications are vocational qualifications. So that gives us a measure of the importance of how that needs to be well prepared, how that needs to provide to graduates a high level of skills, and in particular, technological skills. Many of the shortages, for instance, that are commonly now pronounced in both the research and the policy debate, the labor shortages, many of these labor shortages are intrinsically linked to vocational education training occupations in the manufacturing and construction sector, in healthcare, in transport. And our research using the European Skills and Jobs Survey data that I previously mentioned to use, also highlighting that there are big shortages for AI skills, people who are in possession of AI programming skills. So for instance, in a recent research paper that I've co-authored with a colleague, Giulia Santangelo, we have found that people who are in possession of AI programming skills receive a wage premium of around 20% higher hourly wages compared to alternative tertiary educated graduates. So that is a measure also of how much this blend of skills, AI skills, which is in essence combines high technical knowledge of AI methodologies, machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning type of methodologies with business skills, social skills, data analysis skills, how a particular blend of skills is now being increasingly rewarded and in demand in our labor markets. So vocational education training needs to take all of these trends into account and adapt swiftly to the digital transition. But we have recently, just a couple of days ago, published a new Cedefop policy brief, where essentially what we have done is we have compared the digital skills intensity of the jobs of vocational educational graduates at medium educational level with the digital skills of graduates from general education courses. And a concerning finding is that VET graduates tend to suffer from a double disadvantage. On the one hand, our data is showing that the jobs of VET graduates tend to demand a lower level of digital skills, and in particular, a much lower level of advanced digital skills. So VET graduates at the moment, when they're entering the labor market, are less likely to be asked to deploy AI skills, for example, relative to their comparable workers who graduate from a general educational, general orientation in their studies. And not only are they entering into jobs demanding a lower digital skill level, but we're also seeing that the participation of VET graduates in further digital skills training is lower relative to their general education counterparts. So in a sense, this is concerning because it's telling us that VET graduates are entering into jobs which are not challenging them enough to further invest in their continuing development of their digital skills. So concluding, in essence, EU VET systems are trying to cope with these challenges. A lot of different measures and policies and practices have been implemented in recent years. At Cedefop, we monitor national implementation plans on vocational education training. In particular, a big part of that monitoring is on digital skills. We can see that member states have taken a lot of policy measures, such as supporting teachers and trainers in improving their digital skills, improving digital infrastructure in schools, in VET schools, integrating new digital skills and new programs in curricula and in VET programs. However, what we can also see is that even though a lot of these programs are ongoing, few are being completed or have been completed. And also there is, of course, different speeds with which the EU countries are progressing. I conclude by basically reflecting on the fact that when integrating digital skills within the vocational education training system, within curricula and programs, the big discussion is, of course, that digital skills is a transversal and cross-cutting skill, and AI skills will similarly be such a transversal skill. But we should not only focus on bestowing to our future graduates a high level of technological skills. I think that will be an error. So there's a lot of emphasis, for instance, on people graduating from STEM subjects. And to a particular extent, that's true. But we need to bear in mind that at least on the basis of our evidence, it seems to be graduates who are in possession of high technological skills, but who are combining those with high level of agility, resilience, a high level of social skills. If people have this blend, I think they will have a high probability of success in their future labor market and career prospects than if they just solely focus on obtaining a narrow set of high-level technical AI skills.
Thank you very much, Konstantinos, for sharing this remark, which is perfect for the conclusion of our today's episode. So thank you both very much for your time today and sharing your expertise with us. So to recap for all those listening, you can visit the Digital Skills and Jobs platform to find a range of AI trainings for all levels of knowledge, from beginner to expert, but also a good number of other opportunities, such as funding information, career guidance resources, or even data about job market trends. So I highly encourage you to check that out. Even more, you can become a member and connect with other 14,000 users there and explore the 300 plus courses that are online on a multitude of digital topics. So if you enjoyed this episode of the Digital Skills Talks, I encourage you to visit the website to check the previous episodes as well at digital-skills-jobs.europa.eu. and to keep up to date with the latest development on the social media channels of the platform using the handle @DigitalSkillsEU. Finally, do not miss the info day on the advanced digital skills call, including Digital Skills Academy in generative AI on Friday, May 16th, and stay tuned for further information. Thank you so much again, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.